I think one of the most unfortunate things about being a Dallas Cowboys fan right now is we haven't even approached the final boss just yet. Everybody's upset about Jerry Jones, but lo and behold, we're still going to have to deal with Stephen Jones even once Jerry hits the dusty trail. Stephen Jones has grand ideas of maybe blowing this iteration of the Dallas Cowboys up, and apparently Trevon Diggs has rubbed some people the wrong way in the front office due to his work ethic. Let's get into these topics and more on Attack on Cowboys, but first, a word from our sponsors. And before we even do that, appreciate you guys so much for helping us get to 25,000 subscribers. We've been running the show for just over about a year now. We're already at the 25,000 subscriber mark. We are quickly on the road to 100K, but the next milestone we're going to be really looking out for is 50K. So go ahead and be sure to be the next wave of subs to Attack on Cowboys, the next wave of Cowboys fans to support the first line of defense of America's team, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. But let's go ahead and get right into today's sponsors. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. Be sure to bet on all of your favorite NFL matchups using BetUS TV. And this upcoming week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Dallas Cowboys open up as a 4-point underdog, which means BetUS actually think this game is going to be extremely close. Usually, when you're looking at these betting lines, you give or take about 3 points for the home team when you're looking at NFL lines, because they essentially give 3 points to the home team for home field advantage. So really, the Cowboys looking at being about like a 1-point underdog, to be fair. But it is currently set at +4 for the Dallas Cowboys. You can bet on money line, point spread, however you want to bet with BetUS. And right now, utilize promo code YouTube150 for 150% first time deposit match bonus with BetUS. But now that that's out the way, let's go ahead and get into this, because we got some very, very interesting topics to touch on today, including Stephen Jones potentially wanting to blow this team up. Now, I'm going to get into this part of it first, then we're going to talk about the Diggs stuff, because it all is really intertwined, and I want to kind of just give my unfiltered thoughts towards the end of this, and everybody's about to get a little bit of it. Everybody's about to get a little bit of it, all right? Including the people that reported this in the first place. But Stephen Jones can't imagine seeing Micah Parsons play elsewhere as the Cowboys enter crucial 2025 offseason. The Cowboys stand at 5-8 heading into today's game against the Panthers, and they did win that game, so they're now 6-8. And in the words of executive Stephen Jones, they're just trying to win a game. It has been that kind of season for Dallas, one destined to end in disappointment no matter how the final 4 games of the regular season go, which is why the team's brass will spend the offseason examining how they got there and what led them down this frustrating path. Of note, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, Vice President of Player Personnel Will McClay, and other members of the team's brass will explore the effects that signing big money, high profile, top of position players has on the rest of their roster. To me, it would be irresponsible if every year you don't look at the full body of work and the big picture and how those guys fit into that big picture, Stephen Jones told NFL.com at the conclusion of NFL's December League meeting in Las Colinas, Texas on Wednesday, and how we want to think about our team in terms of the big picture going forward. With a potential blockbuster contract extension for star defender Micah Parsons looming, this study could get extremely interesting. Stephen Jones also commented on the idea of signing a stronger middle class or upper middle class of players rather than the high-end ones like the Cowboys have been doing. And Stephen Jones says, "I think that's a balancing act that you always got to look at," he said on Wednesday, "especially when your good players get hurt and are not on the field. It totally magnifies the issue if you lose guys like Dak and Diggs misses games, Zach Martin misses games, and it's going to magnify something like that. You're going to say, God, are we smart having this much money tied into the top 5 to 10 players? As it stands now, Dallas has more than $20 million projected in salary cap space for 2025, not including the potential that Martin retires and other things that could alter the number. Remember, they could easily get up to $100 million in cap space. So all of this talk that Stephen Jones is spewing out, like they're just so tight on money, like, oh, they're pinching pennies. Like they look at the bank account this morning and they're not sure they're going to have enough in there for that auto withdrawal to come out, right? That's not the case, man. The Cowboys are going to have plenty of money in the coffers. Now, some of that money is going to have to be used to sign some of these other guys back. A Jordan Lewis, a Osa, a Diggy Zua. Osa's probably going to take up a large chunk of that money. A Tyler Smith. Some of these guys are going to have to get signed back, and some of these guys are going to demand pretty hefty contracts. Tyler Smith, for instance, you're probably looking at like a $20 million plus per year type of deal. So a lot of that $100 million in cap space, we got to remember some of that money, a lot of that money is going to be going to our own all pros that we have yet to pay yet. Brandon Aubrey, he's probably going to get a really good deal for a kicker, especially considering that he has the same agent as Dak Prescott. So he's probably going to get a really good deal. So we got to not look at the $100 million as just like a free $100 million, because I want to make sure we're having a fair and complete conversation. I don't want to just get up here and oh, we hate the Joneses. Oh, the Joneses, and sound like an ignorant moron, because there's too many people out here, too many talking heads, too many people with platforms. They come out here and they just want to peddle hate without actually giving proper context to the hate, right? So I got to give you guys proper context, but we're still going to peddle hate because I just completely disagree with everything that Stephen Jones lets come out of his mouth, especially when it comes to paying players and all that. Bro, you have to pay these guys. All the other teams in the league, why are the Joneses acting like they're the only team that has to pay star players, man? The Eagles pay their star players. The Chiefs pay their star players. Everyone else is paying their star players except for the Dallas Cowboys. The 49ers paying their star players. Everyone else is able to do this except for the Cowboys. Like literally, just look at this quote. Stephen Jones literally said, obviously we're totally all in on Dak and CD, but after that, then you still shape things, including Micah. But Micah's a great player. You don't do well in this league letting guys like Micah usually leave the house. Then after that, specifically, Jones was asked, could Parsons be traded? Jones said, we love Micah. I can't imagine there's a scenario where he's not wearing a star on his helmet. So why even say that, Steve? Why even mess with your guys like this? Why even, this is like if you're in a relationship with a chick and she talking to you about how it's possible she could find somebody better than you, or how it's possible she may need to move on from you because she could find something better. But then she's like, no, I'm just kidding. I can't see myself without you. It's like, what? So you think that you have better options, but you just stand with me because you stuck with me because you can't see yourself. Like, that's what this feels like. And it's just like, why? Why are you opening your old ass mothball smelling mouth? You know what the real issue is? You know what the real issue is as far as why they're having to step back and be like, oh, well, maybe, you know why they're publicly doubting their decisions now? Because this is what this is. This is a public display of maybe having some second thoughts or having some regrets about some of the decisions they've made financially with these players. You know the real reason why they're feeling like this is because they look wrong. It's because they look bad. It's because they know that the decisions that they made, they look bad. The way this team played, the way this season played out, they look bad. They're embarrassed. Their egos are bruised. That's why you see them taking it out on the players. And when I say players, I don't mean just Dak Prescott. I don't mean just CeeDee Lamb when they're trying to make fans be upset at these guys because they took too much of the cap. I don't mean just those guys. I mean guys like a Trevon Diggs as well, because now we have people coming out and saying, Clarence Hill Jr. coming out and saying that the Cowboys were not happy with the way Trevon Diggs attacked his rehab amidst Trevon's knee injury. Remember, that very same knee injury is going to be a knee injury that is likely going to cause Trevon Diggs to miss upwards of 8 months. Okay, so it's possible we don't even see him next season. And apparently some of this is the Cowboys didn't like how Trevon actually approached his rehab. So is that an issue with Trevon's work ethic? Well, I'm not going to comment on that part of it. You know why I'm not going to comment on that part of it? Because the original report was irresponsible. It was irresponsible in the fact that it didn't give any context. It didn't give any allusion to what part of his rehab were they frustrated with. What exactly was the frustration coming from? Because we can't sit here and riff on oh, Trevon is this, and I'm not going to label Trevon Diggs anything based off of a vague report like this that has no specificity to it, that's not giving us any type of context that we need to know exactly why the front office is upset. Would they even be justified in being upset because they are rushing guys back from these injuries? Trevon did play week 1, remember, and he tore his ACL last year in week 2. He played week 1 of this season. Then he had a little bit of knee issue. Did they give him time to properly heal, knowing that he was already probably compensating? Everyone knows, man, when you have an injury, on one side of your body, whether you play sports or not, when you have an injury on one side of your body, you usually overcompensate that injury with the other side of your body. So if Diggs' knee, his other knee is the one that got injured, it's probably because they're rushing this dude. They're pushing this dude a little harder than what they probably should have been pushing him, especially when you think about how the fact that DaRon Bland didn't play damn near the whole season when they were promising us that it was only going to be like a 1 to 2 month type of injury, and it ended up being way more severe than that, right? So did they give Diggs enough time? There's too many other factors that we need to consider before we start to demonize a Trevon Diggs. Am I the biggest Trevon Diggs fan right now? Not really. Why am I not the biggest Trevon Diggs fan right now? Because I'm just not sure if he brings the type of physicality and consistent play and the mentality that you need on a defense or on a championship type of squad. Do I think he's the wrong type of guy? Not necessarily, but do I think he's the right type of guy? I think the jury's still out on that, and I think that's fair to say. I think that a lot of these players, when you see how immersed they get in the celebrity of being a Cowboy, it causes some room for doubt. And I think that's where I am at with Trevon Diggs right now. But I'm not going to sit here and assume that he's not a hard worker. He's one of the most talented guys in the entire National Football League. He's one of the most highly producing guys in the entire National Football League at his position when he's healthy. So I'm not going to sit here and act like he doesn't work, because I think that would be foolhardy to do. And yes, I know a lot of people are out on Diggs and they're ready to see him move on. But again, we got to be fair on all sides of this thing. We got to make sure we're providing proper context. This report from Clarence Hill Jr. was irresponsible and it's not fair. If you're going to even put stuff out like this, if you're going to even allude to stuff like this, if you're going to talk about stuff like this, do not tease it. Don't sit there and try to tease it so people can go and watch DLLS Sports and see you drop the actual full context of the story on your next showing. Don't do that, bro, because that's really disingenuous. That is the definition of being a clickbait whore when you're doing stuff like that, because at the end of the day, you're affecting these guys' reputation and the perception that people have of these players with these type of stories, especially when you carry the kind of weight of Clarence Hill Jr. carries within the Cowboys community and just nationally as it pertains to him being looked at as a credible source for Cowboys news and information. That's why I think that people have to be a lot more responsible with their reports and how they report and how they disseminate information, because this isn't fair to the player. Just leaving this nugget out there and leaving it up to the masses to kind of decide what it means, why they're mad at Trevon, what didn't he attack about the rehab, that is just, it's completely unfair. It's completely unfair to Trevon Diggs, and I'm not about to be a part of that. I'm going to be completely honest. So I don't have comments on this. I'm not sure if I believe it or not just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, because like I said, I do have a little bit of doubt about Trevon Diggs and the type of player he is based off of. It just seems like some of these guys get too caught up in the celebrity, man. And he's a little sensitive. He's one of those Twitter warriors as well. So it's like, I do have some doubts. I do think that it's a possibility that he could be a guy that didn't attack the rehab as vigorously as he should have to really get his body prepared. It's possible, but we need more information. And until we do get that information, I can't comment on that. But as far as the Joneses and Stephen Jones being ready to blow this thing up and all that stuff and talking about Micah Parsons and whether or not he's going to be here, we're going to have a whole specific show about that, because, again, I'm someone that's critical about some of our players, but we got to be fair. And I think that a lot of what Micah Parsons has been receiving lately has been extremely unfair. And I just kind of want to throw my hat in the ring and give my 2 cents to that and offer Micah a little bit of support. So y'all be sure to check out the next show as well. But as far as this goes, I think the Joneses are embarrassed. And I think that they're consistently and constantly looking for people to blame for their embarrassment. I think they're constantly looking for people to deflect that embarrassment to. I think that's what we're seeing. I think that's why you're seeing them publicly question their own choices and question their own methodology. I think that's why we're seeing that right now. And at the end of the day, all it does is further goes to show Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones are not equipped to be anybody's general manager. They shouldn't be anywhere near the construction of a national football team's roster. And these dudes honestly just don't have the balls. They just honestly don't have the balls to do this. They clearly don't have the understanding or the balls to do this, to be quite frank, because Stephen Jones continues to act like that looking at the salary cap is a Rubik's Cube when you got all the available information that you could possibly need to. There's no reason that casual fans should be able to tell you a path to clearing up more salary cap space. And then when y'all actually do subsequently make certain moves. That's actually what happened. So it's not like people are just saying stuff. It's not like the sources that we're using are inaccurate or incorrect. It's hitting very, very close on the margins as far as looking at how much money can be freed up by X moves or whatever it may be. But whatever site you use, whether it be over the cap or spot rack or whatever, you can get very, very close to on the dollar how much money we can get in cap space. So if we can do that using the internet, why can't you guys do that when you got this whole staff of people you're paying probably hundreds of thousands, close to millions of dollars to? You got a whole staff of people you're paying to help you manage the cap, man. You got Mr. Bar and Grill up there as your cap expert. And this is why we're seeing what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys, man. I don't know whose granddaughter or niece or whoever Mr. Bar and Grill is spooning with, but he clearly has something on the Joneses, because that man is not qualified to be in that position. And there's just way too many people in general with this entire organization that aren't qualified to be doing what they're doing, but yet they're doing it. And we as fans, we're seeing the constant deterioration of the Dallas Cowboys as an organization, because as times move on, we get to see just how stuck in the past our front office actually is. So that deficit is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't think that there's going to be any way it starts to close anytime soon, especially when you start having these guys talking about foolish stuff like trading your best players off or regretting paying Dak and CD and some of these other guys. This is absolutely ridiculous. To be quite frank, I'm just at a point to where I'm relegated to the mindset of this team is going to be bad. This team is not going to achieve anything meaningful, at least for the next couple of seasons. And the reason for that is I honestly just feels like this front office is throwing in the white flag on this iteration of the Cowboys. I feel like they're scared, they're terrified to add anything, they're terrified to spend any more money, because they don't truly believe in this iteration of the Cowboys and what they have built. And if they do believe in it, they're just really, really pissed off right now, because they were made to look so damn foolish, because they didn't do what's needed to do to fill the holes that needed to be filled, so this team wouldn't be put in the position that it currently finds itself in right now. And that's exactly what's going on. But either way, appreciate BetUS for sponsoring this video. We still same old Cowboys.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.